The film begins with two co-workers Leary and Irwin nervously entering a meeting with their new employer. The toy company Heartland Playsystems just been acquired by weapons manufacturer Globotech, and they're looking to break into the domestic market. Head of the company Mars visits Heartland to meet with the designers concerning their latest ideas. Irwin presents to him a peaceful race of aliens called Gorgonites, whose in-depth backstories that they're on Earth to study the planet, which will promote education. The moment the weapons dealer hears the word education, he becomes disinterested in the premise, prompting Leary to present his own prototype of the Commando Elites. It's nothing more than an interactive military figure, but the presentation of it punching its way out of its packaging gives Mars an idea. He decides to run with both lines of figures, choosing the harmless Gorgonites to act as the enemy of the Commando Elites. Ms. Kegel gives the designers passcodes to access Globotech's advanced database and a deadline of 3 months, which Irwin's concerned about, but Leary assures her it can be done. That night Leary browses the database for a standard computer chip, but instead has the entire line of action figures fitted with intelligence chips designed for the military. They're manufactured and shipped out across the country without any quality control whatsoever, and while the young Alan's working at his father's toy store, a delivery driver stops by. Noticing the boxes of Gorgonites and Commandos bound for another store, Joe decides to let Alan have a first look at them together. In hopes of bringing more attention to the otherwise lifeless store, Alan convinces Joe to leave a full set of the voice-activated figures despite the store rules. Alan's father Stuart doesn't allow any violent action figures and is in a constant state of stress, requiring his level-headed wife Irene to relax him. When the two figures are left alone, they activate and suddenly become hostile. Once Joe's handed over the advertising, Al's neighbor enters, taking her younger brother Timmy shopping, while her father Phil's currently arguing with Stuart about his overreaching tree. Christy talks to the new guy in town about his known recklessness, getting him kicked out of all previous schools, when her brother stumbles across the feuding toys and is shot with a plastic bullet. He pleads with his sister to buy him one of the coolest toys he's ever seen, but they're suddenly gone, so the two leave, telling Alan to hold them should he find any. While searching, he discovers the commander about to go for the kill shot on the Gorgonite with a compass, but just assumes Timmy left them in the pose. After closing up, Alan gets home to his dad leaving for a business trip and putting his son in charge of the store like always. He finds hidden away in his backpack the Gorgonite leader, who introduces himself as Archer but remains static, so Alan just assumes he's voice activated. During the night, Archer goes on the internet and begins researching everything he can about Earth, eventually stopping on a picturesque landscape which he calls Planet Gorgon. When the cat approaches, he can't resist patting it, getting himself noticed by the waking Alan, who calls him out on his behavior. The X-1000 computer chip demonstrates its level of intelligence by following orders to walk around the room, then begins warning Alan of a danger approaching in the form of his archenemy. The leader of the Commandos breaks his way back out of his box and begins to activate the rest of his elite team. A sniper named Butch, demolitions expert Nick Nitro, artillery brick bazooka, communications link static, and covert insurgent Kip, who he breaks the plastic weapon of after his own proved insufficient in killing Archer. Major Chip Hazard commands them to destroy their box rivals before they can activate, but Slamfist somehow turns on and alerts the others. The next day, Alan and Archer find the store completely trashed, but no sign of the Elites or Gorgonites, except one who was ripped into pieces before he could escape. Christy visits and the two work together to repair most of the damage done by the battle, just before Stuart comes back from his business trip and smells something afoot. When he finds his model ship and best display of the store broken, he gets mad and goes to the workshop to fix it, but finds his tools all missing, as they're currently being used as weapons by the Commandos. Meanwhile, Alan puts Archer in his school bag and begins to ride home, but the Gorgonite gets identified by a stalking Link, who alerts his commander. Brick's launched with an elastic strap and uses a homemade grappling hook to attach to Alan's bike. After a brief canine attack, he climbs up and attempts to assassinate Archer, but is bumped off into the spokes and breaks apart into pieces. Luckily, as the Commandos put together their brick, the AI chip recognizes Alan's bike and deduces they've made it all the way to his home. In the middle of the night, they bait Archer away from the sleeping human with a recording of what sounds like his fellow Gorgonites calling for him, but Hazard's waiting in a cupboard and the Elites jump him. They string him up over the garbage disposal and interrogate him on the location of his team, but Alan wakes up and rescues him just in time. The unafraid Nick attempts to attack the giant alone, but is easily stuffed into the disposal. While Alan's distracted by his parents waking up to all the commotion, Nick drags his legless body out of the window behind him. The Commandos are in Stuart's garage next door when Nick crawls his way inside and collapses to the floor. His battery runs dry in Chip's arms and he dies, so the Major orders his troops to eliminate the human for his part in the murder, and the Commandos begin to convert their surroundings into weapons and vehicles for the battle ahead. After a heated argument about Stuart's missing tools, Alan attempts to come clean to his parents, but Archer pretends to be just an ordinary toy. When they're alone again, he speaks up, assuming that Alan wanted him to remain silent in front of the adults. Finally had enough of it, Alan calls Globotech to complain about the commandos, but receives a human operator who gives no help and robotically tells him that they're not liable for any damages. Since the commandos are still looking for his team, Archer knows the Gorgonites must still be alive, so they begin searching the toy shop. They find the still living Gorgonites hiding out back inside the garbage, terrified, but with the pieces of the destroyed Troglokhan reassembled with parts of a radio into the slow-witted Freakenstein. Once back at Alan's house, the silent cycloptic Gorgonite Ocula watches television with Slamfist. Insaniac goes through the laundry and spends most of his time chiming in with sarcasm. Scratchit entertains the cat and is used to be fired from Punchit's horn, while Punch himself searches images of their homeworld on the computer with Freakenstein. During their recon, Link discovers Alan's relationship with Christy after tapping the phone, so while her father's showing his wife Marion the latest in 720p goodness, the small soldiers enter and identify the threat. Using a mousetrap and some sleeping pills, they knock the two out and make their way up to Christy's room. She's out with a friend at the moment, but they discover her collection of Wendy dolls and all ask for 3 days leave for some R&R, but with slightly more pressing matters, Chip denies the request. When Timmy enters thinking that his sister got him the whole collection, they all overpower him and tie the weakling up. The Major removes Nick from a tiny little body bag and takes the X-1000 chip from his head, using it to turn Christy's bedroom into his own Frankenstein's laboratory and raising an army of Wendy dolls as reinforcements. Christy gets home late and finds her parents sleeping but misses her brother gagged in the closet. When she gets to her bedroom, she finds her dolls half melted by the operation and turned into the Commando's own Sisters of Battle. The Gwendy dolls all capture and begin tying Christy up, when her visiting boyfriend Brad hears her screaming and stumbles across the chaotic scene. The angry plastic all begin to jump him at the same time when Butch enters with his makeshift flamethrower, sending him running out of the house. They launch a hostage video into Alan's room, almost killing Ocula with the shot, but demanding the surrender of the Gorgonites or they'll kill the girl. So Alan returns with a box of Gorgonites, seemingly begging for their lives, but really begins to enact his rescue plan with Archer. While the commandos are distracted with the box, he launches the emissary into the air and he parachutes into the chimney. He unlocks the back door for Alan and they sneak past Chip as the soldiers place a stick of TNT inside the box, blowing the contents sky high, but the smoke clears, revealing it was all a deception. Alan finds Christy tied up in her room but is attacked by the swarm of Wendy dolls who laid a trap for him. Before one sticks a nail in his eye, Archer frees Christy and she saves Alan with a golf club. The two go ham on the dolls, destroying as many as they can, with Christy seemingly enjoying it a little much. The elites cut them off on the stairs and begin launching burning CDs from a toaster, so they go back up and out the window. The two reach the front of the house when the soldiers blast their way out of the garage on their makeshift vehicles, launching coins to chase Christy away and corn holders pinning down Alan. Christy returns and saves him again, and using her scooter they manage to evade the tiny elites and race down the street with them in close pursuit. With Chip hot on the pair's heels shooting fireworks and bringing down the surrounding trees and phone lines, Christy jumps the scooter over a pond and the entire squad crashes straight into it. The commandos all melt and their X-1000s are destroyed. However, Hazard himself survives and floats downstream, where he comes across a local toy store, just receiving their massive shipment of elites from Joe. So Chip hijacks the shipment from him at tiny knife point and forces him to drive his new army back to Alan's. Meanwhile, the parents are all arguing about what the hell happened as the Gorgonites begin introducing themselves to the humans. Just then Larry and Irwin show up, having tracked Alan's call to Globotech, and have shown up trying to avoid any lawsuits but get a swift punch from Dad for endangering his child's life. Suddenly the power's cut, as dozens of commando elites begin marching on the house, declaring war on the Gorgonites and any human who aids them. Phil attempts to reason with them but they chase him back inside with a flamethrower. They turn the entire block into a war zone, smashing out the windows with nails and razor blades, then launching fireworks into the house. Flaming tennis balls begin entering, so Irene gets on the defensive, taking up her weapon of choice and returning the destructive fireballs at the elite. When she eventually destroys the launcher, a new Nick Nitro breaches the backyard fence and a small squad moves in with a flamethrower. Stuart risks his life running out and destroying it with a broom, but a nail gun enters and pins him down behind the house with Alan. Knowing they need to do something to help, the Gorgonites go against their design nature and go on the offensive. Insaniac whirlwinds the elites while Scratchit's launched by Punchit at the driver of the nail gun. Freakenstein hijacks the nail gun and chases the remaining squad out of the backyard, allowing Alan to cross it and make it to a transformer. As suggested by Irwin while brainstorming ideas earlier, he attempts to blow it up and fry the elite's chips with the resulting electromagnetic pulse. The Major enters the home in his helicopter, chasing Irene and Phil through the halls, and being cornered by a small squad they decide to hide in a closet for the rest of the film. When Alan's about to connect the two transformers with a wrench, Hazard shows up and begins launching fireworks at him. With Punchit's help, Freakenstein shoots down the chopper, but Chip leaps out onto the pole just in time and begins stabbing at Alan's hands. Using his wrist launcher and the help of Insaniac, Archer's propelled up and once again confronts his archenemy. Not being a fighter, Archer's instantly defeated and kicked off onto the grass below, but gives Alan enough time to snatch the Major up and connect him between the two transformers. As Hazard gets electrocuted, Alan is surrounded by the remaining army of elites and Wendy dolls, but is saved by Christy atop her father's lawnmower. Just then the transformer explodes, sending an EMP across the neighborhood, destroying every X-1000 in the vicinity. Stuart was captured in a net and was just about to be killed when the EMP fries the chip in his Kip Killigan attacker. The next morning, as the cleanup begins, Mars arrives and starts writing everyone checks big enough to remain silent about the whole killer toys situation.
Whoa!
Instead of firing Leary, he offers him a job in his military department supplying Commando Elites to their enemies. While cleaning up the backyard alone, Al comes across the entire Gorgonite squad hidden beneath a fallen satellite dish, still active as the EMP didn't penetrate it. They thank their savior for everything he's done, and have him take them with the model ship to a river at the national park from the photos. Knowing they may never find the exact place that looks like their homeworld, Alan tearfully says his goodbyes to the Gorgonites as they set off in search of a place to call Gorgon. And the movie ends.
Commando Elite, let the first shot be fired! Search out the Gorgonites and frag them all! Uh-oh.
So you made it. I appreciate your time. I couldn't have done it without you. Tell your mother I said thanks.